Let's jump into charting cryptos, commodities, and currencies in that order, and we will start with the big daddy of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin up to? Well, it's down for the day on the 24-hour chart as we record this, down 3.03%. We can see that we have busted through our trend line. Now, if we updated the trend line from last week to here, we're still just pushing through it. You can see where the 2-day is, again, the wick is pushed through. The half day is already through. This is the weekly trend line on all of these charts. We don't have any volume that's helping us out at all here as far as heavy volume with turnarounds and such. So as we look at things on this weekly chart, we do see a definite weakening with that doji and that down move for the last several days. But again, Bitcoin is struggling to keep upward momentum at this point. The red volume only means that it opened lower than the prior close, which is of course a weakness. So we shall keep an eye on Bitcoin and see if this latest move is done or if Bitcoin is just, again, getting a digestion phase underway where it might slide sideways, drop a little bit, and then boom back up again. Just don't know. Hasn't gone full red yet on the weekly, so we'll keep an eye on that. Now, look at what's happened with Ethereum. It's blown way off, particularly if you update the trend line to the last 2 weeks. And again, it's blown through regardless, but we have a red spinning top. Now again, as we look at the volume here, we can see where Bitcoin hit that high of 39.41 back on the week beginning the 20th of May, 39.57, 39.80. So we did have higher than average volume with the interim high. It would be great to see lots of volume with a down move coming that again would be our tail sign of a short position, something we would definitely want to look at getting in, like we saw happen here, where Ethereum hit its interim high of highs with high volume, and then a spinning top the next week with high volume. And then, of course, it took it a while, slid sideways some, and then dropped over. Again, looking to garner what? 2 times your average true range on that 2-day chart. That's just the way we do it. Let's look at Bitwise. This top 10 cryptocurrencies weighted as per market share, with Bitcoin, of course, being the big boss. After that, way down the line, Ethereum. We can see, again, breaking the trend line, not gone red yet. We can look at the 2-day chart where we've got a doji with decent volume there. So keep your eye on things, particularly as we continue to move throughout this week to see if indeed Bitwise is going to go into the negative. Again, it accounts for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then of course all the others, the other 8 toppers. So that is where we are when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Let's now move into some commodities. We'll start with corn. As we look at corn, down for the day 0.45%. Its interim low was last week. It opened higher than the prior close. Again, not a whole lot going on there. We haven't seen, once corn hit its high back there in, last year, somewhere around in October, and then moved down for quite a while. As it got into the new year, it tried to get a little oomph, but each time it just tends to not take off to any new highs. Let's look at copper, used, of course, in a lot of industrial stuff. We see where copper hit its interim high with much higher than average volume, about double volume. And then we had a red spinning top. And what happens with that? Typically, it moves in the other direction. So, of course, that was the week for jumping into the down move in copper. Copper down today alone 0.70%. Now, already spoken with this to the Patreon members on the 3-wave trades about silver. And, of course, silver, interim high with high volume, back on the 20th of May. Didn't do a higher high. The next week it was green, but then that following week, a classic red spinning top with average plus volume. And of course, moving over this week down. Today alone, 1.51%. Let's look at where we are with gasoline, of course, going down for many weeks now. All that volume last week hasn't hit that so far this week, up a little bit for the day, 0.09%. So keep our eye on gasoline. Nat gas. Now this is the little sneaker. I mean, look at this energy. We saw higher than average volume with the interim low, and both in volume and in price. Then skipped over the next week with a red doji with average volume, but then that next week a green spinning top with higher than average volume and took off. Again, it hasn't reached the high. It reached back on the 20th of May that week, but it's not too far from it. That high was 21.61 this week, 21.56 so far, up for the day, 6.64%. What about the United States Oil Fund? Of course, been going down for many weeks. Popped up a little bit for the day, 0.07%. First green candle, a green spinning top, really a doji almost that we've seen in a while. We'll keep an eye on it, see how it finishes up the week. And wheat. What's going on with wheat? Wow. I mean, wheat hit its interim high back on the 20th of May. Then another, week with, an attempt to move up a little higher. No volume to back that up. And then average volume with a red spinning top. And, of course, followed by what? A big red down candle and more down movement. Now, wheat was up for the day, 1.73%. But it does have a lot of downward momentum there on the 2-day. And, of course, very much so on the weekly. Now, lastly, we will move over to currencies. Start with the British pound, which has been pounding up for a while. And again, didn't have any volume to help us out with that turnaround, but it darn sure did turn around. This week a little off, blown through the trend line up the day, 0.12%. We can see here on the half-day chart how it dropped over on Friday afternoon, Monday morning, and trying to build something back up. We'll keep an eye on it. What about the Canadian dollar? Now, this is an interesting one. As we look at the interim high, we saw that back on the week beginning Monday, the 20th of May, a continuation week. Looked like it might try to go up, but then, of course, the telltale red spinning top with higher than average volume, and, of course, this week down. What do we see going on with the euro? Don't have any volume to really help us out here. Got close to average volume and then rolled over this week with the euro just a hammering down as far as the candles go. The 2-day, these 2 big days of plunging down and, of course, a red down candle this week. Lastly, we'll take a look at the Japanese yen. What's it doing? Is the yen going to find a bottom? It's been around this point now going on 3 weeks. Maybe at some point Japan will hit a bottom and start moving up. If it does, of course, we'll be here monitoring it. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you. If you have questions, problems, concerns for us, we want to hear from you. cw@chartingwealth.com. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.